Hey everybody, Very Transformed here again, and today I'm continuing with my Platinum Edition reviews with the Voyager class Springer. Now, just like with Ultra Magnus, I have already reviewed this mold before with the original Generation Springer, so I will be skipping over the transformations, but I will still be covering the details to paint, the articulation, and the differences between this one and the original. So to start with, let's go ahead and get the main comparison out of the way. Here we have the original Springer in his car mode, and try to ignore all those black lines that was done by me with a Gundam pin. But the overall colors are still the original Generations one. And you can see the Generations one kind of went for more of the plain green and yellow look. And one thing right away that's noticeable is that the new one has gold paint, as well as the colors are the color patterns are different because the Platinum Edition actually has two different tones of green. On the side here, we can actually see we have this forest green, while on top we have more of a lime green. And it actually is a very different shade of green from the green that's on the original. You might notice some differences here because the lime green is broken up because on this part here with the clear plastic it is painted while here it's actual plastic. But it does blend together enough when you're looking at that you won't really know the difference. But the actual overall scheme is a little bit different as well. Just like the original, these little tank things on the side are the same color as the green. This up here is painted, but on the original it's a silver. Here it's more of a gunmetal gray. One difference is that instead of just having gray all the way across like the original, we do get this dark green here, with the back part being the gray, and a little bit at the front for the pipes. The tail fins are also painted like the original. The original does not have any paints at all. Here we do get a little yellow trim to kind of help break it up. And on the original we just had gray plastic for the wheels. Actually, that might have been paint, it's hard to tell, but it is green there. While on this one, it is a little bit smaller. It's not quite as... Or no, actually it's the same shape. Just look at the back wheel versus the front wheel. But you see on this one, we do get more of a silver for the rim. A realistic silver rather than the green. As far as the fronts go, we do get some extra paint because the original was just yellow plastic for the headlights, while here we do get some silver paint around them. Or maybe it's silver plastic. It's hard to tell. Oh, mine's coming off though. That's weird. If you want to see what I'm talking about, this piece is like fully attached, while here it's actually coming off. That's odd. It's hard to tell from the front, but it's actually sticking out a little bit. Didn't notice that till now. But yeah, the overall color scheme is mostly the same, just more paint, nicer paint, because we have this nice gold. It is a very nice gold, and I believe it is painted, considering if we look at the bottom here, it's actually kind of hard to tell if this is plastic or paint. Actually, if you look at the bare edge there, you can actually see a tiny bit of gray plastic. So yeah, this is actually painted here. And you actually get a little bit of silver at the front vent there, and you get the Autobot symbol, of course. And you get a little bit, that venting detail is painted silver, much like the original, but you get a little bit more on the grill instead of just the vents. So that is really nice. So yeah, overall color scheme is the same as the original. As far as his weapons go, here's the Platinum Edition, here's the original. They're pretty much the same color scheme-wise, just this Platinum Edition does it in the lime green instead. The paint even kind of stops where it stops on the original. So basically the same, just lime green instead of this more dark green. Same goes for sword. There's no paint on neither of these. Just once again we get lime green instead of the the mid green. Oh yeah, we do get a little bit of silver detail, silver for the piping. We get a little yellow arrow that's not painted on the original. For size comparison, here he is next to the old Classics Rodimus. You can see, get a good idea, and they're actually close to the same size considering one's a deluxe, one's near as a Voyager. Well, that changes a lot once we get the robot mode. Mainly because Springer has a lot of flipping out, while Rodimus does a lot of collapsing in. And here he is next to Titan's Return Terra, just to give you a narrow size comparison. So yeah, a lot of nice paint, really nice vehicle mode. If you want to store the weapons, you do flip up these little pieces here. The sword will just sit right here, and then these pieces flip back down to hold in place. And then on the gun, you just use the handle, and you can either peg it up here, or you can peg it back here, as I prefer. And you can do that. You can also peg the sword on top of this if you want. Or below, or right there. But the sword storage I feel is best down below, where you can't really see it. So, we're going into his helicopter mode now, so we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Alright, so here we have him in his helicopter mode, and once again the transformation is pretty fun. This is probably for me at least, this is the weakest mode of this triple changer. But like any triple changer, you're going to have one mode that's probably going to suffer a little bit, and this is definitely the mode But I do like this one more than the original a bit more. For one thing, the tail does look a bit more solid. I mean, the end of it still has got these green bits, but right here it looks a lot more solid compared to, say, the original Springer, where we had two different tones of gray to where it also just looked like robot, but then we had the green legs sticking out there, where it also just looked like robot legs just, you know, sitting back there. And you can see the paint, once again, the paint's the same as it was in the car mode, just, you know, that gray's been swapped out for a second coat of green. You can see this other white gray now in here. You can see the inside of the turbines. They are bright. It is a brighter silver on the inside compared to like the much darker here. The yellow paint carries over to here. We do get the little engine pieces in the back that are nice silver that stick out help there now. We do get the little pieces on the side painted silver, much original. We do get a nice little green fin that matches the lime green, which does help it a little bit. We still have the front from the cars. We still, we can actually see though, unlike the original, the wheels actually painted. It's actually got some, I think it's green plastic with a metallic for the wheels. So I do think because of how the colors are moved around, it actually works a bit better as a solid helicopter. Yeah, I do like this helicopter mode, and of course you can spin this. My only problem with this mode is the same as the original. Well, besides the overall look, but it does work better here. But one of the problems is that if you lose a sword, you cannot do the helicopter mode anymore. I do not like vehicle mode or modes that rely on a part that could come off. And I know arms and such can come off too, but like an accessory that's meant to come off. If that's lost, you now lost your helicopter mode. Well, it's the weakest mode anyway, so not a big deal. And you can actually see under that gold paint, you can actually see some detailing on the inside, which is pretty nice. You can also, for storage for the gun, fold up the wheel. There's these little trenches on the gun that does attach to like some clips right in there. It's hard to show, but you're just kind of going to clip it like that, or you can just slide it in like that. And now you can have that. It still works as a landing gear. It does not roll at all, but it rolled before anyway. And you now have it with an armed helicopter. Would not recommend doing this often because on my original, I actually broke the clips doing this. The clip, you can see, is actually broken right there. So you can actually no longer even do the... Well, you can put it on there, but it's not going to stay on. So honestly, this is the only time I'm ever going to do this. It's just for this review to show this, because those clips are very picky about where to go, how they go in. And they're very thin, so they do break very easily. Okay, I want to make sure I didn't stress them. Not that they really matter. I mean, I don't do anything other than that one mode, but I don't like breaking my toys. But yeah, as I mentioned, very nice helicopter mode. Works a lot better than the original. Not the best, but it's still not bad for a triple changer. And just to get size out of the way, here he is with Rodimus, and once again about the same size in vehicle mode. And let's give next to Terror, Pterodactyl Swoop, just for a flying comparison. So yeah, good helicopter mode as before. Alright, let's get him to robot mode. Alright, now we got him in robot mode. I went ahead and stored his weapons on his back just to show how that would be set up. It doesn't work the best. I would recommend at least having one of his weapons in his hand, while the other one that you don't want to use, just pick it up here. You do have this one down here, but it means you're having it stick up like this, or have it down like this, and it just gets in the way with a sword. The gun does have a handle that can be adjusted, so this might work better back here, but I also just prefer the port back here, like so. But yeah, here we have him in his robot mode. He looks really good. Like, he looks like he stepped right out of the G1 cartoon almost. I know the original didn't quite have this much gold on the chest, but I think they're trying to get somewhere between the G1 and the IDW look. Especially if you put him back to next to his original counterpart, and you can see the huge difference the paints make. The original had that same green going all the way through it, which kind of does make him a little monotonous, especially with all the gray on the arms. Here, everything's broken up a lot more. We got the lime green on the head with some yellow vents and white face, which is much like how the original had it. Do get some gold paint on the chest, of course, that was the hood, but we do also get this little bit green to help break up the chest that the original did not have. The actual paint on the, I'm not sure what you call this area, the lower part of the chest, is exactly the same pattern. You do get silver, you do get green. The only difference is the lime green's being used for where the green was in the original, and the dark forest green has replaced the gray. On the arms, however, is where we get some big differences, because the original was just gray with some little bit of green for the elbow joint and the fin. Here we get some gray on the shoulder itself, but then the inside of it, actually this force green, along with a panel on the outside from the outside of the car. A little bit gray for the elbow joint, force green for the arm itself, and some lime gray on this, as well as the window panel. And then we get the force green fist itself. The upper legs are done in a nice light gray, much like the which is similar to the lower part of the leg of the original. Meanwhile, we get the dark gray for the full leg, which is like how the bottom of the foot was for the original. We get a lime green shin with the wheel painted with the gunmetal gray. The foot itself is actually painted in the gunmetal gray because if you look, you can actually see it's forest green, so that way when it's folded up for helicopter, it looks green. And then when it's opened up for the foot mode, you have the gunmetal gray that makes it look more solid. And one thing I discovered since I had the original, if you actually take the fins, you can either have them stick off to the side like this, or if you actually flatten them out and then fold them in like so, you can actually use them as an extended heel because they'll actually line up with the foot. Like so. So you can actually use them as a bigger extended, and then you can actually rotate them depending on how you need them for the pose. You can rotate them outward, you can rotate them backward, just however you need them to flatten out to extend his foot. Which is very nice since he does have some balance problems in some poses. And I'll admit, this mold is a little bit scrawnier than I would want for a Springer, since Springer was a little bit bulky in the original cartoon. But this is honestly close enough that this is easily a really good classic style Springer, or Chug style, whichever you prefer to call it. And to show that, here he is next to the Classics Deluxe Rodimus, and yeah, a lot bigger than, well, this, if you're going for Hot Rod, this is actually a good scale, because Hot Rod was rather small. If you want a Rodimus that's in scale, I'd recommend either getting the Cloud Rodimus, which is the same mold as this, just in Rodimus colors, to make him look like the IDW, or get this guy and then get the Protector upgrade. But we're not talking about him, we're talking about Springer. So he can hold a sword, of course. And it does look good in his hand, it does look like a sword, it doesn't look like he's just using helicopter blades. And you see what I mean about his balance being a lot better when he uses those fins. And of course, you still have his gun. And he has a big blaster, you can still use the trigger, the missile launchers still work. As you can see, I'm not going to shoot him off because I don't want to lose the missiles. One of the few figures where I actually want to make sure I don't lose those missiles, because his joints are also a bit tighter. The only joint that's looser compared to the original is the waist joint. But that's good, because on the original, I don't think I even realized there was a waist joint because of how tight it was. So, but his arm joints, even the joints holding his chest together, are a lot tighter than the original, because you see on the original, it's already starting to come apart even though I just transformed him. And once again, here's next to Pterodactyl. You can hold it as a weapon. But, you know, I want to show you next to like a current Titan Master figure. And as far as articulation, he does have a really good amount. His head is on a ball joint, so you can look down. So you can look down at Rodimus since he's so short. You can look up slightly, so you could have him looking up at Ultra Magnus or Jetfire. You do get rotation, which is really tight. Shoulders are universal between the two hinges. You got a hinge going out that far, which lets you go that far up. And you can do a full rotation. You do get a swivel and a ratcheted elbow. Slightly looser than the original, but still enough it can hold anything. And you do get a fully functional fist because it does have a rotation, and due to transformation, it can come inward slightly for certain poses. So, you still get a really good amount of fist articulation. For the waist, you might want to move the panel out of the way a little bit, just not fully up, but out enough that you can turn the waist without bumping. And you can get a really good waist swivel going. So you could have him doing a slashing pose or such, which does look pretty good. You do get universal hips as you get hinged backwards and forwards, you get it outwards, you do get a swivel. You do get a ratcheted knee joint, and it's very stiff. You do get some slight inward hinge here from the transformation that really can't do much with. It's just for transformation where you have to squeeze the legs together. And feet, you don't really get anything, but you know, with that adjustable, with the adjustable heel spur, you could work it a little bit to get some poses going. So, like I mentioned, he is very posable. He's probably the most posable out of the set, especially since Ultra Magnus doesn't have a lot. Or, no, Ultra Magnus has a good amount, but he doesn't have the hand articulation, which really pushes, and he doesn't have the ball jointed neck, which really pushes this as one of the best figures we got out of Generations for me. This is honestly one of my absolute favorite figures out of Generations that we ever got. Between Combiner Wars, Titan Return, the newer generations, and even the older generations, even going back to Chug, this is one of my absolute favorite figures. Which is a really nice mold. Helicopter mode's a little bit weak, but it's still, I've still seen worse from Triple Changers as far as 3 modes go. The car mode's really nice. The look of the vehicle mode is really nice. The look of the robot mode's really good. And then you also have all the articulation. So for where you're a collector or you want to get for your kid, if you're getting it for a kid, I would recommend getting this version just because of the paint. You don't want that to get all scraped up. But for a collector, I can't think of a better Springer, even with third parties. I think this is also the best Springer you're going to get. So, this has been Nerd Transformed. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope you have a good day. Take care.